This is the third part of the tutorial. What we have until now is a flow that populate an SMS with the values that we write here and send a message to Boomi, and Boomi send a SMS using Twilio. The flow continues and pass to the step status. What we are going to do now is the same, because it's going to populate an SMS and it's going to send the message to Boomi, and Boomi, instead of return forward, is going to return wait. That means that this flow is not going to pass directly to this step. It's going to wait. This flow is going to be waiting until Twilio send a callback to Boomi, and in that moment Boomi is going to send the order to the flow to continues. So we are going to Boomi, and here we are going to need some new resources. We are going to start with the resource that we already have, that is send SMS process. What we do until now is send an SMS and hardcode a response with the status forward. We are going to change that. Wait. What we do until now is send an SMS to Twilio and respond directly to the flow with the status forward. We are going to change this for wait. The flow is going to wait until they receive an order from Boomi to continues. We are going to check that this is working. We have to save. So now if we execute the flow, it's waiting. So we are going to close that. So what we are going to implement now is the callback resource of Twilio. So Twilio, when the message is sent to the customer, so it's going to make a call to this resource to say that the status is sent. We add a process. Status. It's going to be a REST API, and the method is going to be post. The input type is going to be a single data, because Twilio doesn't use JSON or XML. It's going to use a form. So the output is going to be single data 2, and we are going to return text plain. The object is going to be callback, and the URL path is going to be status message. So everything okay, we finish, save and close. So this is our, we made this activate the listen. Everything okay. Okay. So what we are going to do now is call the flow in many who and say that the flow can continues. For do that, we are going to create a new connector. This case is going to be a HTTP client. The action is going to be send connection. I have already here the connection for other project. Basically, the connection is going to have only that. Okay. So we are going to create a new operation. We are going to select an request profile. We don't have this profile, so we need to create a new one. This is going to be the request. This file looks like this. This is in the format that the request expect that file. So we get this structure. We are going to call this flow control. Now that we have the request profile, content type application JSON, select that, and the path response. Also in this call we are going to need a header, many who tenant, and the value from this many who tenant is going to be this. We save and close, and we have our operation to the flow. Now we can connect, and we are going to respond something. This is for Twilio. Twilio doesn't care too much what we return, just the code. So now Manywho is going to receive an order that can continue with the flow. Here we have the request. We are sending a response to Manywho, but this request is not possible to handle by this connector. So what we need to do is a map between the request and the profile that the connector needs. So it's going to be a new profile. And the input stream. So we are going to have a new profile with the input stream. This is of type file. And here we are going to map it with the JSON for Manywho flow control JSON profile. So we need all this data from the information that came from this input. We need much more information here. We need at least the token and the tenant ID, and it's not possible to map these two functions. So this means that we need to save in some moment the tenant ID and the token. Send SMS process. Here we are going to save the token and the tenant ID associated with the ID of the message. So what we need to do now is create a connector for database. It's going to be sent. We are going to save this data. In this case, I am using PostgreSQL. Configuration is this one is in my local machine. The driver is not included in the atom, so you need to install the driver yourself. To download the driver for this database, you need to download from here. This is the driver that I'm using currently. Download it and paste. We go to library. Okay, and after you copy this driver here, you need to restart the atom. Like administrator, you can run from the command line this script. After that, you're going to have accessible in the atom the database. So I have already accessible PostgreSQL, and now I'm going to create a new operation. This operation is going to be send profile. We are going to add a profile. We are going to use dynamic insert, and we are going to import the structure from our database. They show all the schemas that we have, and I have two tables. The first one is for this exercise. So all the columns are detected. We select all, and we have now in the fields all the data that we need. Okay, so we have this operation ready. This is how looks the database. The table in which we are working is this one. So it have a primary key that is SMS seed. So this is the Twilio response. We need to map it in some way to connect with this database. What we are going to do is a new map. And in the left, we are going to have the Twilio response. And in the right, we are going to have database. Okay. The only thing that we have is the ID of the message. We need to save in some way the tenant ID and the token. If you remember from the first tutorial, we have some properties saved. We need to get the get properties, and we are going to select token. So we already have the token. We can do the same with the tenant ID. So we save here. So we are going to work with this one. Process property. We are going to add a new one that is called tenant ID. So we save it, and here we have to map this tenant ID with the request tenant ID. Request SMS JSON, and we click here in tenant ID. Okay, so the token is mapped with the token and the tenant ID with the tenant ID. In the map, we can now assign this tenant ID to the one in the properties. So we have all the information that we need. We have to make this change. So what we are doing here, we are saving in the process the tenant ID and the token. Then we map the request to the message to be sent to Twilio. Twilio responds with a message. This message have a message ID, and with this message ID and the information that we have saved here, that is tenant ID and token, we are going to save it in database. We respond to many who flow that have to wait for a response. It had to wait until the callback from Twilio came and say that the message is sent. So when Twilio responds to Boomi that the message is sent, we need to make a call to many who to say that the flow can continue. This request profile, sending a token, a tenant ID, and input type for Word. So we need the token and the tenant ID. So how we are going to get that? We are going to get that from database. Create a new connector. In this case is get. So we are going to create a new operation. Select. We select our database. And here it is, all the information that we need. Here we need to add a parameter. SMS seed equal. So we are going to add here the parameter so we need to get from the request the message ID. we are going to pass this message ID in some way. We are going to use the SMS seed. We are going to configure, and we are going to pass the parameter that we need. In this case is this parameter. We are going to get it from the profile element database, and this is the profile, and the element that we have selected before. Yes. Now we are going to delete the message from a database. Select the same connector. Okay, we don't need these conditions. This is the primary key, so it's enough. Okay. And delete field. We are going to create two branches, and in the second branch we are going to delete the message. Here we are going to need a map, so we can pass to database the data in the way that we need. So here we have a new database profile 2. This is a select. And we need this delete. Select, and what we need here is delete. So we are going to do that. And now we are ready for a test. We need to make a small change here. We are going to add a branch. So we can respond to the server properly. So this database is insert. I'm going to change the name of this too. So we insert here, we don't return nothing, and here we return our new SMS. Here we return our JSON object. Okay, here we are not populating the token and the tenant ID. We need to populate this from the database. So this is a select, we're renaming that. Okay. So here we are going to get it from the profile. And token, tenant ID and token. This is, we need to put it token and tenant ID. So we save and let's check if it's working now. Message seed, we are using the SMS seed, so we are going to change that. We are going to modify these two. So to make it more clear, to use that. Work properly. And there it is. We have communicate with the flow and the flow can continue and is showing the status.